Hidden in plain sight, Captain Sarah Chun floated in the observation deck of Mining Station Alpha 7, watching the endless dance of asteroids through a reinforced viewport. To any Korthic patrol, this looked like another routine mining operation in the belt. Metal extraction, ore processing, nothing more. They had no idea that humanity's greatest secret was being born in the hollowed-out caverns beneath their feet. 15 years had passed since Earth's surrender. 15 years of alien boots on human soil, of resource extraction that bled the planet dry, of children growing up knowing only submission to the Korthic Empire. The once proud nations of Earth had become administrative districts, their leaders, replaced by alien governors who spoke in clicking, harsh tones and showed no mercy for human weakness. Sarah remembered the day the surrender was announced. She had been a mining engineer then, working the asteroid belt for rare minerals. The news came through emergency broadcasts, crackling with static and desperation. The Korthic fleet had appeared at the edge of the solar system, massive ships that blotted out stars. Earth's combined military forces had lasted 6 hours against their advanced technology. The occupation that followed was systematic and brutal. Humans were categorized by usefulness, their technological advancement carefully monitored and controlled. The aliens took what they wanted when they wanted it. Resistance movements sprouted and died like weeds in winter, crushed by superior firepower and orbital surveillance. But some fires burned deeper than others. In the hidden chambers of mining stations, in the abandoned tunnels of dead worlds, in the hearts of engineers and soldiers who refused to accept defeat, something had been growing. Something the Empire never expected from a species they considered primitive and broken. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez emerged from the transport tube, his weathered face bearing the scars of a man who had seen too much. He approached Sarah with the measured stride of someone who carried the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. Behind him walked Dr. Elena Vasquez, her dark eyes bright with the fevered intensity of someone who had spent years perfecting the impossible. "Status report, Captain," Rodriguez said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never learned to surrender. Sarah activated the holographic display with a gesture. The cavern around them disappeared, replaced by technical schematics. That made the heart race. There, rotating slowly in brilliant blue light, was humanity's answer to 15 years of oppression. The Phoenix Dot. She was beautiful in the way that only instruments of war could be. Sleek lines hiding devastating power. At 3 kilometers long, she was larger than anything humanity had ever built in space. Her hull gleamed with stolen Korthic stealth technology, integrated with human engineering genius in ways that should have been impossible. "She's ready," Sarah said, unable to keep the pride from her voice. Faster than their fastest interceptors, more heavily armed than their dreadnoughts, and completely invisible to their sensors when the stealth systems are active. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her fingers dancing over the control interface. "The quantum drives are operating at 98.7% efficiency. We've solved the power distribution problem that plagued the early prototypes. The weapon systems are fully integrated with the navigational AI." "And the crew?" Rodriguez asked. "Handpicked from resistance cells across the system," Sarah replied. "Fighter pilots who've been hiding in the outer colonies, engineers who've been sabotaging alien installations, soldiers who never forgot how to fight. They're not just skilled, Admiral. They're hungry." The Phoenix represented more than advanced technology. She was the culmination of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to learn, to take the tools of their oppressors and turn them into instruments of liberation. Every system aboard her had been bought with blood, stolen through careful infiltration, or reverse engineered by brilliant minds working in secret. Rodriguez studied the schematics with the careful attention of a man who understood that one mistake could doom their species. The Empire's patrol patterns? "Predictable," Sarah said, switching the display to show alien fleet movements. they've grown complacent. 15 years of unopposed rule has made them lazy. They run standard formations, follow established routes, never varying their schedules. Their weakness is their strength, Dr. Vasquez added. The Korthic military doctrine prizes order and predictability. They've never faced an enemy that could match their technology while thinking like humans. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. The Phoenix would decloak directly behind the Empire's main patrol fleet, devastating their flagship before they could react. While the aliens struggled to understand what was happening, human fighter squadrons would emerge from hidden positions. Throughout the system, coordinated by quantum communicators that the Empire couldn't detect or jam, but Sarah knew. The real weapon wasn't the Phoenix's guns or her fighters. It was hope. For 15 years, humanity had lived under the shadow of defeat. They had been told they were weak, primitive, unworthy of freedom. One successful attack would change that forever. Commander Jake Morrison joined them at the display, his flight suit still bearing the marks of the latest training exercise. His pilots had been practicing in the deep asteroid fields, learning to fight in 3 dimensions while maintaining radio silence. They were ready. Final systems check complete, Morrison reported. All fighter squadrons report green across the board. The boys are eager to show these alien bastards what human pilots can do. Sarah felt the familiar weight of command settling on her shoulders. In 12 hours, the Phoenix would begin her journey toward Earth. In 18 hours, the Empire would learn that humanity had never truly surrendered. The preparation chamber hummed with activity as the crew made final adjustments to their equipment. These were not the broken survivors the Empire believed them to be. These were the children of a species that had climbed from caves to stars, that had turned rocks into tools and tools into weapons, that had never learned the meaning of impossible. Doctor Vasquez approached Sarah one final time, her expression serious. There's something you need to know about the Phoenix. The quantum drives don't just provide propulsion. They're connected to a network of similar drives hidden throughout human space. When we activate them, every resistance cell in the galaxy will know we're coming. And if we fail, then they'll know we tried. Sometimes that's enough. Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of what they were attempting. This wasn't just about one ship or one battle. It was about proving that humanity could still fight, still dream, still reach for the stars even with chains around their wrists. As the Phoenix prepared for launch, Sarah walked through her corridors one final time. In the fighter bays, pilots checked their weapons and whispered prayers to gods both old and new. In the engine rooms, engineers nursed the stolen alien technology that would carry them to victory or death. In the command center, tacticians ran final simulations. There, faces grim with concentration. The ship was more than metal and circuitry. She was the crystallized hope of a species that refused to die. She was humanity's declaration that they would not go quietly into the dark. The launch sequence began with a whisper. The Phoenix detached from the asteroid station, her hull shimmering as the stealth systems activated. To any watching sensors, she simply disappeared, becoming one with the cosmic dark. Inside the command center, Sarah watched the tactical display as her ship began the journey that would change everything. The Empire had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed that defeat meant submission. That occupation meant acceptance. They were about to learn the difference between surrender and strategic retreat. The moment everything changed, Emperor Thane stood in the observation deck of his flagship, the Dominion's pride, watching the primitive blue world turn slowly beneath him. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, its surface scarred by 15 years of systematic resource extraction, but still beautiful in the way that all living worlds were beautiful. He had conquered dozens of such worlds, each one adding to the glory of the Korthic Empire. The humans had been disappointingly easy to defeat. Their military technology was centuries behind Korthik standards. Their tactics predictable, their resistance movements easily crushed. They had shown brief flashes of the cunning that had allowed them to reach space, but nothing that posed a real threat to Imperial rule. "Status report," Thane commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never known defeat. Tactical Officer Zara 9 approached with the measured stride of a career military officer. Her scaled skin bore the ritual scars of the warrior caste, and her 4 eyes tracked multiple information streams simultaneously. "All patrol squadrons report normal status, Emperor. The human population remains compliant. Resource extraction proceeds on schedule. And the resistance movements? 17 cells eliminated in the past month. Intelligence suggests the remaining groups lack coordination and advanced weaponry. They pose no significant threat to Imperial operations." Thane nodded with satisfaction. The humans had provided exactly what the Empire needed: vast mineral resources and a compliant workforce. Their defeat had been so complete that they barely remembered how to fight. It was almost disappointing how easily they had broken. The Emperor's fleet hung in Earth's orbit like a constellation of death. 37 ships ranging from fast interceptors to massive dreadnoughts. It was a formidable force, though probably excessive for maintaining control over a broken species. But Thane believed in overwhelming display of power. It prevented thoughts of rebellion before they could take root. Commander Vex 3 approached from the communication station, his expression showing the careful neutrality that Imperial officers cultivated when bringing news to their superiors. "Emperor, we're receiving routine reports from mining operations in the asteroid belt. All facilities report normal productivity." "Of course they do," Thane replied. "Humans are efficient workers when properly motivated. Their capacity for hope makes them surprisingly resilient to hardship." It was true. The humans had shown remarkable adaptability to their new circumstances. They worked their mining operations with diligence, maintained their technological infrastructure adequately, and rarely attempted futile gestures of resistance anymore. They had learned their place in the Imperial order. Zara 9 paused at her station, her head tilting in the way that indicated she was receiving new information through her neural implant. "Emperor, there's something unusual. Long-range sensors are detecting minor gravitational anomalies near the asteroid belt." "Gravitational anomalies?" "Difficult to classify. The readings are inconsistent with known celestial mechanics. Possibly equipment malfunction or unexpected asteroid movements." Thane dismissed the report with a gesture. Human mining operations were notoriously crude, often causing minor disruptions to local gravitational fields. It was not worth his attention, but something felt different today. The Emperor had survived countless battles and conquered dozens of worlds by trusting his instincts, and those instincts were telling him that something was wrong. The tactical display showed normal fleet formations, routine patrol patterns, standard operational parameters. Everything was exactly as it should be. That was the problem. Zara 9, expand long-range sensor sweeps, full spectrum analysis. "At once, Emperor." The tactical display shifted, showing a wider view of the solar system. Patrol squadrons moved in their assigned patterns. Mining operations continued their scheduled activities, and Earth rotated peacefully below. But Thane's unease was growing. "Sir," Vex 3 called from his station, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations. The patterns don't match any known human technology." Before Thane could respond, the universe exploded into chaos. The Phoenix materialized directly behind the Imperial formation, her stealth systems deactivating in a cascade of brilliant light. She was massive, larger than anything the Empire had expected humans to build, her hull gleaming with integrated alien technology that should have been impossible for a primitive species to master. "Weapons lock!" Zara 9 screamed, her training overriding her shock. Unknown vessel targeting the flagship. The Phoenix's first salvo struck the Dominion's Pride before the crew could react. Quantum torpedoes, fired from weapons that combined human engineering with stolen Korthic technology, tore through the flagship's shields as if they were paper. The mighty ship, symbol of Imperial dominance, shuddered under impacts that would have destroyed smaller vessels. "Impossible," Thane roared, his composure finally cracking. "Humans don't have ships like that." But the evidence was exploding. Around them, the Phoenix was real. Her weapons were devastating, and she was piloted by the same species the Empire had dismissed as broken and primitive. Alarm klaxons shrieked through the command center as damage reports flooded in. Hull breach. On decks 7 through 12, Vex 3 reported, his voice tight with disbelief. "Shield generators are offline. Main power is fluctuating." Through the chaos, Thane could see the impossible ship maneuvering with grace that defied physics. Her engines burned with quantum fire, her hull shimmered with stealth technology, and her weapons spoke with the voice of human fury refined into pure destruction. "Fighter squadrons, intercept that ship," Thane commanded. But as the Imperial fighters moved to engage, space around them came alive with human vessels. Dozens of them, small craft that had been hidden in asteroid fields and abandoned stations, emerging from concealment with weapons blazing. They moved with the fluid coordination of pilots who had spent years learning to fight as one. Commander Morrison's voice crackled across the quantum communication network, reaching every human pilot in the system. "This is Wolf Leader to all units. The Phoenix has broken their backs. Now we break their spirits. Show them what humans can do." The response was immediate and devastating. Human fighters swarmed the Imperial formation, their weapons targeting critical systems with precision that spoke of intimate knowledge of Korthic technology. They had studied their enemies for 15 years, learned every weakness, cataloged every vulnerability. Zaranine struggled with her controls, trying to coordinate a defense against an enemy that was fighting like nothing in Imperial experience. "They're everywhere. How are there so many of them?" The answer was simple and terrifying. Humanity had never stopped fighting. They had simply learned to fight smarter, to wait for the right moment, to turn their enemy's strength against them. Every mining operation, every maintenance facility, every seemingly broken resistance cell had been part of a vast network preparing for this moment. The Phoenix turned toward the next Imperial vessel, her main guns charging with energy that made space itself tremble. Captain Chun stood on her bridge, watching the alien fleet scatter before her like leaves in a storm. This was not the desperate last stand of a defeated species. This was the calculated fury of a people who had learned patience. "Target the command ship," Sarah ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. "Show them what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness." The Korthic ship exploded in a flower of fire and debris, its destruction visible from Earth's surface. Across the planet, humans looked up at the sky and saw their oppressors' ships burning like falling stars. Emperor Thane found himself facing a reality he had never imagined. The primitive species he had conquered was not primitive at all. They had been learning, adapting, growing stronger while he had grown complacent. The humans had not surrendered. They had been preparing. Full retreat, Thane commanded, his voice hoarse with shock and rage. "All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace." But the Phoenix was already moving to intercept the fleeing vessels. Her fighter squadrons spread out like a net, herding the Imperial ships toward prepared kill zones. The humans had planned this perfectly, turning the Empire's own tactics against them. As the surviving Imperial ships fled the system, their formations broken and their confidence shattered, a new message spread across the galaxy. The quantum communication network that connected resistance cells throughout human space carried a single, simple transmission. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Force ship Phoenix. Today, humanity has returned to the stars. Empire said we were broken. They were wrong. We were healing. We were learning. We were preparing. The message reached every human colony, every hidden base, every secret installation where people had refused to accept defeat, and everywhere it went, it carried the same promise. The war was not over. It was just beginning. But for the first time in 15 years, humanity was winning.